6:03 on Wednesday, January 17th, and I'm going to call to order the Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors meeting at 6:03. The first thing we need to cover is the agenda review, and if there are no revisions requested, the agenda is accepted without objection. So the agenda is accepted. Next thing is a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next section is the visitor section. The public comment or visitor section of the meeting is an opportunity for community members to address issues of concern about policy, budget, or administrative matters, or to share ideas about how we can work together to improve our schools. We value input and respect divergent views. We ask that you limit your remarks to the time constraints prescribed by the chair, which is 3 minutes, and refrain from airing grievances with individual members of the school community, including respecting the privacy of students and parents. I'm going to give a 1-minute time warning, and those attending remotely may type their name into the comment section if they wish to speak. During the meeting, comments may be disabled. So do we have any visitors that would like to speak? And I can't see back here. Alrighty. Would you mind, I don't know, is there, oh, would you mind stepping up there and just introducing yourself? Yeah. What town you're from? That's, thank you. Yeah, we're all set.
Hi, good evening. My name's Tamara Martell. Oh, failing already. My name's Tamara Martell, and I live in the town of St. Albans. I have a student that attends SATEC. I'm here to ask a little bit of information about what the process is for MRUSD offering professional development opportunities to the teachers within the district. I know recently in Burlington School District, they offered last month through a social and political activist organization, a unit on teaching Palestine. And I understand some of the teachers that went to it said it was very anti-Semitic, and more importantly offered facts that were, or offered an alternative set of facts based on Israel and Palestine. So I think my question is, this was promoted and endorsed by the Burlington School District to their teachers, and I understand that teachers can make their own determination about what professional development they'd like to seek. But what I'd like to know is what's the policy, what's the criteria for determining who is going to provide professional development opportunities to the faculty if they are endorsed and promoted by MRUSD. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to sit down or?
Sure. This isn't something that we can discuss only because it would violate open meeting laws, but someone will get back to you.
Great, thank you.
Because I think the professional development.
Yeah, John, would you make sure you get her contact, Tamara's contact information provided?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other visitors that would like to speak? No one's coming on Zoom? All right. Alrighty. I'm going to give it another minute. No, that's coming. Alrighty. So we're going to move on. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Included in the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes, attachment 5A, the media packet, attachment 5B, and staff changes, attachment 5C. And if there are no revisions requested, the consent agenda is accepted without objection. So those are accepted. Moving on to item 6, student reports to the board. And first, we're going to hear from the students, student board reps.
Perfect. Hello everyone, my name is Leah. I don't have that much to report this week. I'm sure last time y'all got an earful from Jacoby and Cooper about what they've been doing with the middle schools, which is great. So we're definitely continuing on with that with our group personally. We kind of took a break after doing a lot of the design committees, which we're still doing throughout the group. So some of our students were able to go to the design committee that talked about the board goals, which is something we're really passionate about, and making sure we attend, making sure there's students there to have a voice, as well as bringing some other students, hoping to gather some other people to have their voice. Not that y'all don't love hearing from us all the time and seeing us there. So hopefully we can get some more people, or students rather, to join those through the creative discourse as well. But that's kind of what we're starting with now. I think as a new year, us as a group of students are just trying to create some more goals and hoping that those design committees and what we got from our listening sessions can kind of turn into some action steps and making more concrete goals of what we want to accomplish by the end of the year. So we're looking forward to coming up with some more ideas. Otherwise, that's pretty much it on the student kind of side of it. I think for BFA, we just finished our midterms, which is something very new this year, and I think a lot of students we saw were very nervous, and I think they went good. I think that they're very much in line with the goal of academic rigor, which is something that was talked about and something that we wanted to prepare students for outside of high school, and talking about midterms and exams, self-direction, studying. So personally, I think it's an amazing addition to BFA, and I think it's a good start, and I think a lot of other school districts do it as well. So yeah, I think that's about it. Any questions? No? Yeah.
You mentioned midterms are kind of, what's new about the midterms? Just that you have them?
Yeah, so BFA, I don't know how long, since I was a freshman here, we didn't have midterms. I don't know when they ended or started, or how that looked, but more of to have like a full exam that encapsulates everything that you've learned from, it's not that we've never had tests before, I've never had to study, that's not true, I definitely have, but more or less a high stakes exam might be a little longer, might be a little more stake in the game in terms of grading. It went over all the P.E.G.s, so a little more in depth, and we had a different schedule, so we really had time to okay, this day you're gonna have this class and there's gonna be exam, and then we got released early those days, which again is something we've never done since I've been here. I don't know, Mr. Guy, but you can tell me when.
I know, I'm trying to think back. I think it was probably 2018 or 2019. We stopped having midterm exams. With the proficiencies-based movement, it's much more kind of fluid and learning opportunities and developing. But then, with speaking with past graduates and even students who are entering the workforce who have to take plumber exams and nursing exams, it's like there's this skill set of taking tests and taking exams. And so thinking about being college and career ready, how could we put in this kind of exam week and really learning from students who have graduated already, I don't know if I know how to study, right? And so we made a really concerted effort on how do we help kids study and for them to really demonstrate their learning over the course of a semester. And so we really kind of focused around that. And you're right, kids were, the week before, were really articulating, I'm really stressed, I have this exam. But as I was talking during exam, how do you think you did? And kids were saying, I think I did really well. And one in particular, I said, is it because you studied a lot? And they said, well, and my teachers helped me study. And I was like, okay, this is what we kind of should be working towards. So it's not necessarily having a high stakes test. It's not. I don't think it's really about that, because It didn't actually count more than any other assessment they've taken, but it was really that preparation of how do you study, how do you take a test, and yeah, I think it was pretty successful.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it accurately reflects of what happened. But anyways, yeah, accurate time or a good amount of time to study. Like the week before, we got back from break, study exams. Personally, I can't speak for everyone. I think it was good and very helpful.
Any other questions? Any other thing from both of you?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on to old business, and the first item is the plan for meeting board goals. So we've talked about all three of the board goals. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Maple Run Board will develop a board orientation for all new board members, including student members, and an annual review to support all these members in understanding the roles and responsibilities of the school board, so we're working on that. The second one is the Maple Run Board will develop and implement plans for monitoring the district's progress on the district's 5 goals. That actually was the first one that we addressed. And then, I think it was. And then the third goal is the Maple Run Board will implement strategies to create and support respectful dialogue, a culture where all voices are welcome and valued, and ensure information is easily accessible. And one of the goals was that all of the board members would do some sort of community outreach event with Erin Breslow's help. And so that we can interact with the community. So I actually just did one yesterday, and I wanted to kind of share with you how it went. As just part of, I volunteer at the East Fairfield Bakersfield Community Food Show, and on Tuesday afternoons and after work. But they also have a senior meal there on Tuesdays from like 12:30 to 1:30. We've got music. They sometimes have like little, I'm gonna say, activities, and all the while people are coming into the food shelf. So I had the opportunity to, what I didn't anticipate was that the majority of the seniors or the people there were actually from Bakersfield, so they weren't necessarily residents of Fairfield, St. Albans or St. Albans town. But I did run into several that were from the town. I ran into people that were on the food shelf that were from town, some that had students in the school, some that had grandchildren in the school. So there was really a variety of people, one who homeschools his children, and hopefully I'm gonna get more of these pieces of paper back. But what I realized is I was putting people on the spot. And so I have a couple of suggestions when we do go. Definitely bring your name tags. I forgot my name tag. I actually had my hospital tag that I covered over and put Maple Run Unified so that people would know who I was, and I looked at least a little bit official. But definitely the name tags that we have, I recommend bringing those. I recommend bringing your business cards, because I also hadn't brought my business cards, and what I ended up doing was writing my email at the bottom, but we could hand out business cards. And then the other thing I'd recommend maybe is, because people are gonna get these back to me, and especially for people that aren't hooked up to technology, they don't really have a way to get back to me. I had one woman whose mom was gonna take pictures of it and just send it to me via Facebook Messenger, which would work. But I think if we also had a stack of self-stamped, self-addressed envelopes, especially for the people that aren't connected, that would get right back to us, they could just stick them in the envelope and pop them in the mail. And it's probably gonna be easier than them trying to figure out how to, from a technology standpoint, how to get them back to us. So those are just some of my suggestions, and I'll be putting all this information together. Yeah, so I think it went well. I had fun. And that's all I have on that. I don't know if anyone else has been out on any of these community engagement sessions. It was fun. It was awkward until I got going. But it was also, because I knew because I work at the food shelf, I knew like the people running the food shelf. I knew a lot of the seniors that could, because actually it's the volunteers that do the food shelf, I'm gonna say, are mostly retired women, because, you know, they're not working. So anyways, it was a good think, a good mix.
Do you want to ask Jack?
Yeah, Jack, did you?
Any questions?
I just wanted to make a comment. I couldn't hook up my computer tonight, so I'm using the agenda on my phone.
Okay.
I'm not texting anybody.
Okay,
I am following the board meeting on my phone.
thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, so we're gonna move on. So the next item is this is an action item, budget, the final draft. And the administration recommends a motion to approve and warn the budget article for the school budget for the year 2024-2025 for the amount of, I don't have that in front of me. It's here, for the amount of $76,232,411 using the required statutory language for budgets. So I made that motion. If someone could accept it, then we can talk about it. Or second it. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, and now I'm gonna open it up for discussion.
Yeah, Martha and I talked today, we felt like, first of all, I want to thank everyone for your really kind words after last meeting. Many of you said, hey, that was really helpful, that education session, so thank you. But Martha would do a brief explanation. There's been a couple draft changes for draft 4, and then I want to inform you of some information that's happening around the state right now. We have a lot of things that are going on this week right now with education. So, right.
So in your packet, you have the same documents that we've been sending out the last 3 drafts. The first page, again, the only thing that changed on there is I've added a few more of the little green check marks where I've received information and or finalized some information, but that's the only thing that's changed on that front first page. The second page where it says draft 4 at the bottom, it has the same expenditure budget total. I have updated the local revenues. I have done my, I've tightened up the estimates that I'm putting forward, and it reduced our education spending by about $50,000. We have our new not equalized pupils, we got our new long-term weighted ADM student count, which is the 4,006.72, which gives us spending of $14,278, which is actually $20 less than the current year. So it's a negative 0.14%. So that's really the only thing that changed there. I have received the final 6-semester average for the tech center students, so that changed a few numbers in the revenue side. The long-term weighted ADM count is now frozen, so that's the number that will be moving forward. And like I said, I've finalized the local revenue estimates. The next 2 pages are the expenditures, and on your table is a revised documents that has included the FY23 adopted budget column in there. So that way, from the request that was made last week. So there really hasn't been any changes to this, except for in the FY23 columns. There were a couple of adjustments for some account codes that didn't pull in the budgeting module, so when I had to do it in a different format to get the FY23 adopted budget, there was a few numbers that changed slightly. But the bottom line for the FY25 proposed is the exact same number. The summary of the estimated revenues, again, the document that's on your table in front of you has that new column, the FY23 adopted budget. And then the FY25 proposed budget column, there are a few areas where I adjusted the revenues slightly. I don't remember which ones they were. Don't remember exactly. It just, like I said, it reduced our education spending by about $50,000. then it brings us to the tax rate sheet. And that also hasn't changed from what we gave you last week, which, because we had updated the long-term rated ADM student count, the numbers are exactly the same as it was last week. So there really wasn't any substantive changes to the budget documents in front of you.
Any discussion?
So, are there any questions for Martha on these pieces? Should I go ahead and if people want to come back to it, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I wanted to inform the board, one of the things that there's been a lot of conversations going on around the state right now with ed finance. It's been quite the topic of conversation that's happening both in Montpelier and with all the superintendents. I hope I don't get too technical, so slow me down if I do. But if you remember, for the new, under Act 127, we have two different caps. We have a cap for 5% on the tax rate that says if our tax rate's gonna change more than 5% and we go over the 5%, that our tax rate before the CLA is capped at 5%. So we've gone over that, and so we're capped at 5%. We're a good example. The other cap is on the amount of change there is in education spending per long-term weighted average. And we're actually going down 0.14 or 0.14 and that's a 10% overage cap. And Martha and I were just talking earlier tonight. If we were going to, so we haven't hit that 10%. To hit that 10%, we would have to put another $5.9 million in education spending. Not the expenditure budget, but into the education spending. So we could increase it without increasing our taxes at all. To the Maple Run, we could increase our budget. And that money has to come from somewhere. And it's gotta come under the state education fund. There are quite a few districts in the state of Vermont that are doing that right now. That their boards have either adopted a budget or are adopting a budget this week that will push up their spending. And what this will do is lower the dollar yield. And it will start to pull in schools that, because if you remember, 127 was a bill that was trying to get money to districts that have been historically disadvantaged in the tax rates and couldn't raise their tax rates. And it's gonna actually lower the yield, push their tax rates up, and bring them into the cap. And I asked Aaron to bring the chart of paper because it may be something I have to draw out for you about how this all works. But what's gonna happen is the communities that have been historically disadvantaged will pay for this differential, not the community. And so it's a systematic inequity that's been put into law that was supposed to take away the systematic inequities that were already in Vermont's tax system. I tell you this as a piece of information. Susan, Nilda, and I spent quite a bit of time talking about it Monday. I'm not here recommending that you increase the budget. I'm just telling you that there are many districts that are in our situation that are, and they're putting that money towards one-time expenses, mainly capital money, to fix deferred maintenance. Do we have it? I can tell you how we could spend that 5.9 without even looking at a chart, 'cause I know where we're out with deferred maintenance. But that's something that is happening, and the ed fund is really at risk in the state of Vermont right now today. I don't say, I'm a huge supporter of, I think we have a really good budget that we've brought you. People have worked really hard to bring that to you. I don't say that to put any division on the Maple Run budget at all or what we've brought to you, but you need to be informed of what's happening. It is getting louder every day exponentially across the state right now in the past week and a half. And that's what
So
we said.
basically, these schools are spending extra money that they wouldn't otherwise because they know it's a one-time expense. They're not gonna have to pay for it. We all are. We,
The whole
meaning the whole
state
state
of
of Vermont, pay for it.
Yeah.
So in other words, we're doing a good job for the general educational fund by being, by not doing that.
Yeah, I would say by being prudent would be my word.
Right.
Yeah.
Being
And
prudent.
responsible.
But again, it's what I've said many times, it's, the burden of the educational spending is on all the districts together. And we can be the victim of what other districts do.
We won't be so much because we're at the capped.
Right.
It's the districts that have been historically disadvantaged, and I don't mean in a student way, but in a financial way.
Right.
And because of the equity that 127 was putting there for weights, the only place to get the money, there's 3 places to get it from. Those districts, the non-homestead tax rate, and I'm gonna need help here, Martha, with vocabulary, but the income sensitivity
Income
cap
sensitivity
for those
cap.
who have a certain level of income, by them lowering the income sensitivity. So if you think of 2 of those 3 areas, the folks that don't have the ability to pay themselves, or the districts that have been historically disadvantaged because of ability to tax, they're the ones the only one that isn't, that in my own personal bias, is the non-homestead, which are the second home businesses pieces. And so that's where this is gonna need to be made up, because the law for our district, because we're over the cap, caps our tax rate.
So when we were talking about this on Monday night when we were planning for the meeting, you know, my mother always had the saying, I'm gonna make up this name, maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but her saying was always, just because Johnny Smith lies down in the middle of Main Street doesn't mean it's okay for us to lie down in the middle of Main Street. I don't know who Johnny Smith is, but, and I kind of feel that way about this, you know, like I feel like we presented the most responsible budget that meets the needs of the students and community based on the constraints of Act 127 and the governmental constraints, so I would hate to, I guess, say, well, just because it's there, we should be doing it. What do you guys think?
Oh, I think we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree with your take on it. It sounds like if we were to just add extra, it would be nice to add extra spending into the budget. It would definitely benefit us in the short term, but it would also add to what is probably going to be fairly a major problem down the line.
Any other discussion on this? Are we ready to, Chair?
Oh, I just, more or less just kind of like rehashing what I've been hammering on the last few weeks in terms of talking budget. Just wanted to kind of sort out what we're offering in terms of like cost benefits. Is what the budget we have is going to cost taxpayers is 5%, or they're going to pay for the 5% of the increase here, and what we're getting for the budget is we're getting a cap of the education's spending tax is not going to increase by 5% at least until 2029. The budget that we have allows us to staff the school basically as well as we're able. And the only way to get under, where we try to start hacking at it and get under 5%, it would be to essentially decimate our staffing. And so I'm basically just sort of making a sales pitch for what I think is a good way forward. For, you know, it gives us room to work with the next 5 years to try to get our, try to bring the tax rate down before that 5% cap expires.
Yeah, I think we'd have to cut something like 3 million something.
You remember it was,
More than that.
yeah.
I think it was like 6 million.
Well,
Or-
I have to look at the
I'd have
the
to
one
look at
sheet.
it now.
We
And that
gave
was
you the
to
one
get
sheet
down
last
to
week.
5%.
To get to the
that much
5%.
doesn't save us anything.
Right,
No,
right.
no, and if we went under that, it would mean losing positions.
Yes, yes, and we're already in district where we had trouble near break. We were close to not being able to open a school because of staff issues. So.
Alrighty, so if there's no more discussion, then I'm gonna ask for a vote. So the question is, we recommend a motion to approve and warn the budget article for the budget year 24-25. And I just lost that sheet of paper.
That's right. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's my,
I saw it. You flipped it, and I saw you have it great.
perfect, alright. So the budget of $76,232,411, using the required statutory language for budgets. So Nilda,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes?
Jessica,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Carly, yes, Susan, yes, and David?
Yes.
Alrighty, so the budget is been adopted. Alright, so the next item is the MRUSD warning, and that's attachment 7C. So, and this is the warning that will appear in the town reports that we'll vote on at town meeting day.
You might want to.
Alright, so the administration recommends a motion to approve the warning, so I'll make that motion if someone would second. Second. Thank you, Fairley. So, any discussion?
I just want to say, if you adopt this tonight, or we have to amend it, we do have a separate signature page, so please, before you leave, make sure you see Aaron. He has a signature page, and we need your signatures on it. So, it's actually really important that we do have your signatures on.
Any questions, discussion? If not, I'm gonna take a vote. Nilda,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes?
Jessica,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Carly, yes, Susan is a yes, and David?
Yes.
Alright, so that warning is passed. Next item is 7D, and it's the budget communications plan.
So we're gonna, we're using a lot of our planning from what we've done before, and I think I talked about this a little bit on the third. We've been, a couple of our staff, Aaron Rushlow and Dino, probably the last name, Papa Source, thank you, I have a tough time with Dino's last name, it's not fair to him. Have been working together to put together a plan. Some of it is what we've done in the past, and some new things. We really looked at our videos that we did the past couple of years, and we had a whole series, and we frankly just didn't have a lot of views. So we're gonna do one video that does the overall explanation of the budget, but try to really stay at a high level and connect it with the goals and community work the board's been supporting and having us do. And then we're doing a series on each goal and how that's being actualized in the school district. So, and some of that, we're working with the messenger. We'll put out our usual annual report and our budget insert that goes in twice, the week and 2 weeks before the town meeting day. And that's really some of our communications plan. If there are pieces from all the handouts, especially from what we had last week, that you see that are something that really catches your eyes, you have some good suggestions that we can add into that, because we're creating that presentation right now and just adding to it. In looking at it, something Bree and Martha and I were at for PD this year, about budgets and communicating that our past videos were just too technical. So how do we get the message out in something in a way someone can everyone can understand. So we're working on that and trying to take a lot of the jargon out of it. And so I will bring you I wish I had that in writing for you right now, but I'll make sure that that's here for February 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if people have questions like that, suggestions, thoughts, how we can support all of you talking with people about the budget.
I did bring like the meeting minutes from the information that we presented last meeting
Yeah.
and that was helpful to have it with me. Quite honestly, a lot of the people at the senior meal didn't really, they weren't necessarily interested in learning much, and I think they're like, a lot of it was they don't feel like, they didn't have kids in school, but I said, yeah, but you're still a taxpayer, so. But certainly with, it was helpful to have that there, knowing I could fall back on it, so. Alrighty. Any other discussion, questions? So, we are gonna move on to new business, and I'm gonna turn this over to you, Nilda.
Okay,
Alright?
all right. We're on item 8, new business. The first item is a request for tuition reimbursement. You have it in your packet as attachment 8A. This is a request to approve the tuition reimbursement for the remainder of the 2023-2024 school year to a different school from outside of MRUSD. I didn't say that very well, but you all have the letter that talks about the schools involved. So this is a situation where MRUSD would pay for students to go to a school outside of MRUSD. And you all have the packet. There's information in the packet. Does anyone have any questions related to this?
So I think this is an action item, so if we, can we make a motion?
Well, I sort of waited on that because of the way the motion's written here. I didn't want to suggest that there was already a plan.
Okay.
So if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah. No one has any questions? No one has any
Can we
No,
discuss?
anything?
Nilda, would you like me to update my conversation that I had today with the
Yes,
school's
please.
attorney?
Yes, please.
I've talked to the school's attorney just to confirm my understanding of state statute. And state statute, because we provide schooling for a student, unless it's an extraordinary circumstance that's found by one of our IEP or 504 team members, that we provide education for all students, and that's what state statute says. And I conferred that with our attorney, that our schools, that we educate. The students that live within Maple Run boundaries are educated within the schools of Maple Run.
Thank you.
Except in the case of, situations like this and homelessness.
No, that's not correct for a situation. If a student's adopted, they are educated in the residence of which it is. I confirmed that with our attorney today.
Okay.
I guess I thought that there was like a determination meeting, that was kind of the whole point.
No, there isn't enough for adoption. If a student is is in foster care. There's a difference between foster care and adoption.
Right.
Is there room though to consider different circumstances, or that's black and white?
If you go there, then you will open yourself up to tuitioning and how would the board determine the reasoning for tuitioning at every time you were requested pay for tuition to a student outside of Maple Run schools?
I feel like I want to look into that a little bit more, so.
I would advise that if you really want to look into that you have a letter from your attorney.
I don't like that kind of talk, that makes me uncomfortable. I think that it's okay for us to question this a little bit, because my understanding was that in this is the whole point, that in extenuating circumstances, that there's usually a meeting of determination. And so I'm just inquiring, I am not challenging, I'm inquiring right now. So I feel like I don't want to feel defensive right now. I want to learn more about this. And so that is what I'd like to do.
So part of why I didn't ask for a motion for action was to sort of elicit this discussion so that we can find out what information we need to get, because we do need to get attorney's advice on this, including, making sure that the definitions that we have and we understand are correct with Vermont law. So please go forward with any other questions you have or clarifications that you need, so that Bill will have them to communicate to our attorney.
So we can't say, we're not saying this isn't like, I guess
So
This is an
there's
action
no
item, but
motion.
we're not.
There's no motion right now on the table.
Okay.
So are we talking about tabling this until we?
Yeah, we may, at the end of this discussion, we will, if everyone agrees, we'll need a motion to table.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see the statute instead of just,
Yeah,
being
so I would
told.
ask, that's what I would ask of P.E.G to do, is write a letter to the board saying, here's the statutes that are ruling in this matter, and here's his advice for the board.
Yep, that would
Charlie,
be great.
Charlie's got a question.
Hey, Charlie, what?
I'm just trying to make sure that I'm understanding the letter correctly. So we have two children currently at Enosburg, whose adoptive parents are currently in St. Albans and looking for a place in Enosburg. And they're asking Maple Run to cover the tuition costs until they're able to move to Enosburg. And the attorney, the conversation you had with your attorney, or with the district's attorney, said that is a legally murky area.
It's a very legally murky area for the board that he would not advise the board to go into, because how would you then decide when another tuition request came forward to make a decision whether you approved it or not? We've had tuition waivers, we've had families come to the board in the past year, asking for the board to pay tuition to another school, and this board has said no. And so the attorney said, so how are you going to make those determinations?
I mean, is there, in terms of looking at past precedent, is there any kind of consideration given to the fact that the board is 50% new over the course of this year?
No.
Okay.
Joe?
So I would answer that question by saying our job is to do what's best for children. And having children move from one school to another school to another school to another school is not what's in the best interest of children. And my understanding is that is the whole purpose of having a determination meeting of determination to decide where the students should go. And so this, I guess the conversation I find concerning, because I feel like we've made those decisions for our staff members, what's in the best interest for our staff members. And so right now we need to be thinking about what's in the best interest of these children, because there are extenuating circumstances. So I'd like to look at the statute. I don't want to be told that that's what I'm supposed to do. And because I have a different memory as a school social worker for the past 23 years. So I would like a time to be able to see that, and I'm confused as to why that wouldn't be given to us tonight.
Yeah,
If we're being asked to make a decision.
I'm also
Jeff?
curious about, the cost of the tuition versus the cost of these kids having to move school and potentially have to hire another one-on-one and whatever other services are needed. So it may actually be cheaper for the district to just let them stay where they are and be settled.
We would actually incur all those costs, because with it residing in our district, the way the special ed laws work, we would be reimbursing for all of those services. So
It's
they're
not
really,
a flat tuition?
it's not a flat tuition. The way Vermont statute works for costs for special education costs, if there are any, which I can't say right now, but if there are any other costs, then we would have to bear those as a district of residence. That's the way Vermont statute works.
I just have a
Any other questions? Charlie?
Yeah, just a procedural question. So if we choose to table this, our next board meeting, I believe, is February 7th. And so basically this would show up on the February 7th agenda, and then presumably we'd have the statute as an attachment to view. And so that's 3 weeks away. Is the family basically stuck in limbo during those 3 weeks, or are they just?
I think we continue to be where they are.
Okay, so basically their situation stays unchanged from where it is today, but they have to wait 3 weeks.
I can't answer that because I don't know where they are in their adoption process.
Okay.
And I can tell you that, that that a meeting of determination that Joanna has brought up does not happen in an adoption case. And I confirmed that today, that does not happen here.
DCF.
So, I'm sorry, I'm going back to the letter, I just got myself out of there by accident. So, I'm sorry, I didn't read one part of this letter. So they're not adopted yet.
That's correct.
Right.
What I read in the letter.
Right.
So then,
Send it in there and they're in foster care, and
Right.
then your determination, yes, that's correct for foster care.
so they are still in foster care,
In foster care, yes, but when you
Which
move to
means-
adoption, that changes.
right? But they're not adopted right now.
As that's
So then we
Right.
follow
Yep,
the rules for foster care.
that's correct.
Which means that there would be a meeting of determination.
That's correct.
So why wouldn't we just have the meeting of determination then?
That happens with foster care. Once they're adopted, that's no longer in place.
Meaning,
That the determination doesn't choose which school they go to.
meaning that if they are in Enosburg, even though their parents are in St. Albans, they still can go to Enosburg because they're in foster care.
When you get to adoption, living in St. Albans, they become St. Albans, their responsibility of the Maple Run School and the determination no longer is in effect under rule. It's the Vermont system, just.
Yeah. Are you confused as I am?
Well, I'm just, so what kind of sits poorly with me about the Vermont system with that is that it seems like it's incentivizing, in this case, they're incentivized not to adopt.
That's correct, yep. In my opinion, I agree with you,
Okay,
in my opinion.
all right, so that just sits very poorly with me.
And what is the real cost? I mean, if this doesn't happen until February or March, the year's over in 3 months. You know, they could potentially move over the summer. Is it prorated or is it?
It's not the cost of the money, it's the cost of what you have, your potential liability for you with other parents with tuition.
Yeah, but we would have the chance to make that determination each time.
Right.
And you would open
And
yourself
the-
up, well, you open
the
yourself
request-
up, so
Excuse me, the request is only to the end of the school year.
you open yourself up for liability from other parents to challenge you if you said no to them.
The goal is for them to move to Enosburg.
Well, then I guess DCF needs to be on the same page, because they're telling them that they can.
Right, because DCF may be under the same impression that I might be, which is that there would be a meeting of determination, and that it could still be okay for them to go to that school. So I think that there's some confusion for the state as well, potentially.
Right. Well, if they're are no more clarifications needed, I would like a motion, to table this item of, tuition reimbursement to the next meeting while we await, clarification and letter from our attorney. That wasn't very smooth, but
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
thank
it.
you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna take a vote. Amanda,
Yes.
Charlie,
I'm sorry, this is to table?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
David,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Nilda votes yes. Thank you. Next item is the VFA asbestos removal bid award. We're looking, the administration is recommending a motion to award the bid for a, I can't even see that number, for attic asbestos removal to the Environmental Hazards Management Incorporated for the amount, is it $63,931, is that what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is, you have bids in your, you have the bid in your packet. So we only had one bid at this, and who's prepared to speak about this? Anybody? Martha? No?
I'll go.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we put out a bid, this is part of the ESSER renovations, and we do not contract through our general contractor for hazardous materials mitigation. That's something we always do ourselves. So we have asbestos that needs to be removed in the original building for BFA up in the attic as we're insulating the attic, and a few other places as well. So we invited 3 vendors to bid on it. 2 did bid, and this is the low bid.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion about this? We have the motion in a second. We ready to take a vote? Okay, let's do that. Amanda,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Nilda votes yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a request it says the administration recommends a motion to approve the unpaid leave request for Catherine Lamb. You have in your packet attachment 8C, which has information about what her plan is and how she would like to have her leave distributed. Anybody want to have any discussion about this?
Is she a longtime employee?
I'd have to look to get the exact time length, but it's been within 5 years. You did do a ruling on this past fall, on a similar type of request.
She went to school with my kids, so she's not that old. Because I'm not.
It's
It's her.
it's a different Katie Lamb.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's great.
Wow. That we would have 2 is amazing.
Are there 2
Okay.
cameras?
Yeah, yes.
Well,
Well,
1 now.
there used to be 2.
There used to be 2. We're 1 now.
Wow, sorry, I apologize for making that assumption. Okay, any more discussion? Now that we verified that I'm stupid.
Just a point of order. We haven't made a motion yet.
I think we did. No? I requested the motion. I guess I didn't get a response. Would you like to make that motion, Susan?
I'll make the motion that the administration recommends a motion to approve the unpaid leave request for Catherine Lamb. Is there a second?
Thank you. Is there a second?
Suzanne,
There's a second. Yep, thank you.
now we can
Okay.
discuss.
More discussion.
Charlie.
I did a little bit of looking at what this route is. I just want to clarify, it says in the letter pilgrimage, but it's not a religious
No.
thing, correct?
Well,
It's
I should
following
not-
a pilgrimage trail, but
Yes.
not for religious
You don't know
purpose.
what her
Well,
purpose is.
that is true. Okay.
I guess my thoughts are that we made a determination last fall that we, a longtime school member, and we turned down her request, because it was gonna be so many days off during the school year.
Right. It was unpaid leave that we were gonna have to backfill, which is where the cost is.
Now that, and I would have to double check minutes, but that was something more or less in the middle of the, I think, in the middle of the school year. This is toward the end. Does that make any sort of difference in terms of educational, like in
Right.
terms of how much it disrupts the education?
It was, just for clarification, it was in the middle of the school year, but it was extending a vacation, a school vacation, our time off already. The case of last year.
Charlie, are you asking that of me?
I'm asking if anyone who can answer me, is there, and we said no to something that was, I can't remember the exact timing, but it was basically mid-year. Just in terms of timing, does basically being gone at the end of the year without having that, sort of like leave and then come back, does that have any sort of educational difference?
My professional belief on this is that all school days are valuable, and you shouldn't judge one over another.
Okay.
Will there be in-service days for staff members at the end of the school year? Because an instructional coach, would be really important to have for in-service days at the end of the school year. I just don't know what the schedule is, excuse me.
There may be, I don't know that we have an in-service day, but I know we have teams that come together.
Yeah, I mean,
and
making
they-
really
they'd be
big
part-
important
they'd be
decisions,
important-
like
They'd
about
be part of that, I
where,
would think.
So, that's a good point, Joanna. And Bill, wouldn't that be part of the backfill
Well,
if she were?
can't do that.
you can't really do backfill for that position, Nelda. And to me, where I am as your superintendent, it's not about the position, it's about what you've said before about what Susan just said. It's about, you talked about this before and you denied someone already for extended vacation.
Yes.
Here's another request. That's where I am myself.
I agree with that personally. Anybody else have any other questions, clarification, discussion? Are we ready to take a vote? So just so you know, this motion was in the affirmative. So if you want to say no, you have to say no. Did I say that right?
That makes perfect sense.
If you don't wanna approve this request, you have to say no.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I wanted to say.
That's what you said, Nina.
I don't think I said it the way I wanted to say it, but that's okay. I've done that a couple times already tonight, so. So, based on that, list is Amanda.
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, Charlie?
No.
Okay, David?
No.
Jack?
No?
Jessica?
No.
Joanna,
No.
Carly,
No.
Susan,
No.
Suzanne.
No.
Nilda votes no. So the request is denied. Okay. Next item is other business. We have the warrants. The administration recommends a motion to approve the warrants, acknowledging that passage of this motion will act as an authorization and signature of any individual board member participating remotely. Any questions about the warrants, or can I have a motion for that, please?
Do we have one?
Charlie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see him in the packet.
Charlie made the motion, who seconded it?
Joanna.
Okay, maybe it was the other way around, thank you. Are we ready to vote? Amanda,
Yes.
Charles,
Yeah, yes.
David,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Carly, excuse me, Susan,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Nilda votes yes. Okay, next item is the superintendent's report.
I just have one thing to remind everyone. It was up this evening at Collins Curler for the art show exhibit and unveiling from 4:30 to 6:30. It was terrific. There were a lot of people milling around and celebrating the great work of our students. So it's up through the week. I'd encourage all of you to get up there. Some great pieces. I was really taken back by some sculpture by the city school students. For some reason, it connected with me, and I'm like, oh, this is really, really cool. Some of the stuff they've done. And there's lots of cool work from all our schools. I don't want to, for some reason, these 4 pieces that were sitting on the counter of some mushrooms were just really cool. So, lots of good work. There's drawing and painting and 3D artwork up there, and there were a lot of smiles, and saw a lot of kids proud, taking their parents by their hands and showing off the work. So it was a great reminder today of, hey, this is what we do everything we do. So get a chance to get up there and see it.
Thank you. Any board announcements? Well, I would just like to take a minute to thank the board for approving the budget. There's a lot of work put into that by the leadership team and the board, and I think we're presenting a very responsible budget to our community, so thank you all. Agenda for future meetings? Executive session?
We'll have to put 8A on. No, yeah, 8A will have to be, that we tabled tonight.
Yep,
Seemed like there was something.
and any more business to come before the board?
We had that email, Susan. Is that
Oh,
appropriate
yeah,
for the
yeah.
agenda?
I think at some point we need to bring that up.
Yeah, we talked about that on Monday, as I said we would, Jess, from the parent, about what happens for the entrance fees for games. And so there's a little bit of,
Oh, there was an email that Jess and I got.
yes, it didn't go to the whole board, just asking about what, why are we charging admissions fees for games and plays?
Yeah,
So
and
I think
we
that,
should-
yeah, so I think at some point we need to put that on the agenda, just so that we can talk about
Right.
that. I don't know if it makes sense to do that before town meeting day or not, just because of well, now that we have the budget done, but, yeah. So the question was, why are we, the email was in regards to why are we charging for students and families to get into some of the athletic events when, certainly part of it, I don't wanna say it's a directive from BPA, but when we're trying to engage the community, yet clearly if we're charging money for these events, we're not gonna be able to engage all the community, so at some point we should talk about that.
Yeah. And as you and I, we talked about, Jess, I can't remember if I said this to you or not, but we have to do some research on how those fees are used. I mean, it's there, I just haven't, I didn't want to bug Martha and Brianne with trying to get the budget done right now.
yeah.
It came on Monday, I was like, they don't even know it came. They're sitting over there going, Billy, you didn't even talk to us about this.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No, I'd be interested in what it tallies up to,
Yeah,
what it's used for.
yeah,
And then if there's alternative ways we could get that money, even if we just did donations, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes even doing, and we can talk about it once actually on the
Yeah.
agenda.
right. I think it's a great question.
Okay. Thank you all. Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.